So in our pause screen, we explicitly use the escape button in particular to activate and deactivate our pause screen. So that was a kind of hard-coded thing. But what if we wanted to use a different input from our input manager? So if we go to our project settings and then input here, we have all these different buttons that we use. And previously we've used the jump option here to be able to jump our player within the world. And one of the benefits of using this is if our player is using the keyboard, they have those kind of controls there. But also if they're using a controller or a gamepad, by default it already assigns these things so that it would actually do something. So our jump button will actually use a value on the gamepad to do something. So if we want to do the same thing with our pause, how could we add that in here? So very simply, all we have to do is add an extra option here. So we've got 18 by default here at the moment, so let's add an extra one at the bottom. So we will say size is 19 and we'll hit enter, and by default what it does is copy the the last one down here. So we're going to rename this to be start. So this will be our start button, or actually no, we'll rename it to be pause. So this will pause and unpause the game. So we want to leave it as escape. That's absolutely perfectly fine that it's set there. But if you have a different one in your inputs here already put in, we want to have in our positive button slot here, we want it to be escape. And then we have an option for an alternate positive button. So we can, instead of having it be joystick button 1, which on a normal controller will actually be like the B button on an Xbox controller, for example, but we want it to be the start button, which is joystick button 7. And that's basically all we have to do here. We've created a new option here. So now that whether we press escape or on the controller, the start button, it will do the exact same thing. So let's just recollapse that, and then we can go back to our pause screen script, and instead of having input the get key down and then specifically talking about the escape key, we can go back and delete all that, back to input, and we can say input.get button down, and then the button that we want to use is the one we just created, which is our pause, like that. Then we close that bracket, and now if we save that and go back in here, give it a second to compile, and if we hit play again, and now if we hit escape, it does the exact same thing. And if you had a controller that you were using, if you were to hit the start button, it would activate and deactivate the pause menu just the way it has before. So perfect, that's all we want to do. Now our pause menu is complete. We've got all our menus into our game, so let's move on to doing one final major thing with our game here.